I really hate, and I feel like a bad person
Dodger fans.
now,
Oh,
that my first instinct when I heard the news about Jurickson Profar yesterday was to kind of go, whew, dodged a bullet there. And it's such a
I'm
bad,
with you.
it's so bad to think that, because we love
We
Jurickson.
do.
And I actually wish for his success other than when he plays the Padres. And it's just terrible news. It's terrible news for him and baseball and the Braves. And this just doesn't feel good for anyone. But my first, and I wonder if Padres fans, if you out there shared
Oh, yeah.
the same thought, was, oh man, glad they didn't spend the
It ain't
42
our
million
problem.
or
Yeah.
whatever to sign him and keep him this offseason and then have to deal with him out. Not only 80 games, as they announced, Major League Baseball announced his 80-game suspension for testing positive for a banned substance, not technically a steroid, but a masking agent,
A testosterone
HCG,
producer,
which it.
but booster.
So when you take, just to Bensplain quickly, when you, and I'm not a bodybuilder or steroid expert,
You're not?
but as I
I
understand
feel duped.
as I understand it, when you go through like a cycle of steroids to artificially increase your testosterone, then you go off of it. Your body is not going to produce
Correct.
as much testosterone itself. And that is one of the signals that tells the testers that you've been taking steroids.
Correct.
It's very hard to detect the actual steroids, but your lower testosterone count is a clear sign that you've been doing something you shouldn't be doing. So players will then take this HCG to get their body to start producing it again so they won't get popped in the testing. And when they detect the HCG, it's a sign, okay, you must have been doing something. It's one of the only ways they actually can catch players who have been doing steroids. Now, Jurickson, released his statement through the Major League Baseball Players Association. Braves fans, today is the most difficult day of my baseball career. I'm devastated to announce that I have been suspended for 80 games by Major League Baseball and the commissioner's office for testing positive for a banned substance this offseason. This is especially painful for me because anyone who knows me, has seen me play, knows I am deeply passionate about the game. There's nothing I love more than competing with my teammates, being a fan favorite. I want to apologize to the entire Braves organization, my teammates, and the fans. It is because of my deep love and respect for this game that I would never knowingly do anything to cheat it. I have been tested my entire career, including 8 times last season alone, and have never tested positive. I would never willingly take a banned substance, but I take full responsibility and accept MLB's decision. I'm devastated I won't be on the field with my teammates for the next 80 games. I look forward to competing again at the highest level this season upon my return. Of course, even after he returns, Jurickson Profar is no longer eligible for the postseason this year. That is part of any steroid suspension in baseball. So if the Braves do bounce back from their 0-5 start now, as they lost again to the Dodgers last night, Jurickson wouldn't be able to be in the playoffs with them this year either.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many layers to this with Jurickson Profar, and really any guy that gets popped for any banned substance. We've heard every excuse in the book. As someone that had to take HCG when we were trying to get pregnant, I was on testosterone through the Total T clinic, right? For years, talked about it on the old station. And, our fear was, oh no, you're not going to be able to get pregnant. So yeah, take some HCG. You take it very little bit and you just kind of pinch your fat and you shoot it in. Doesn't hurt. It's nothing. And I did it 5 days a week for like 5 weeks. And we came back, tested, and everything was fine. And then had the kids. So I got 2 beautiful boys because of it. It helped produce testosterone again. But look, my suspicion is this. My suspicion is that a lot of guys try to beat the system in the off season. My suspicion is that Jurickson Profar told us and everybody, man, I'm beat. I'm gassed. My knee is shot. I'm playing on one leg essentially after the season. Hits free agency and says, I'm going to do a little cycle to get my body back and recovered so that I can lift again and run again and do all the things I need to do. And then finishes the cycle, takes some HCG to build that testosterone up again, and then gets popped for it. What I was a little confused about is they said he was tested in the off season. Now, I don't know when that happened, You're telling me that test wasn't in before opening day? It wasn't. You let him play 4 games?
It's quite possible, and I believe this was the case when Fernando Tatis Jr. It's quite possible they've known about this for a few weeks. It takes a while for Major League Baseball to make the announcement. Jurickson may have been aware of it for a while, and they don't tell the commissioner's office. I think the players' union, they contact the player first, and they say, "Hey, this is coming." And he probably did know that this was going to
come.
A
terrible
very
feeling,
awkward
man.
way to start the season, knowing that this is hanging over your head, which I believe was the case with Tatis as well, that it was kind of hanging over his head for a little while before it becomes officially announced and the suspension kicks in. So that's possible. Why just the timing of it and how it worked. But
now when he says I would there's no other way to take HCG without
not
injecting.
Not that I saw.
I mean, you can't really say I would never knowingly put something into my body. Bro, you're putting a needle into your body,
into your belly, essentially.
That's
where you put it.
It's him. It's Rafael Palmeiro. It's anybody in the span of baseball history that's ever said I didn't knowingly put this on, but when you put a needle into your body,
and we were all
unless that's the team doctor, what are you doing?
We were all kind of confused why they went out and got Verdugo, and what this depth piece for them or whatever. No, I mean it like you said, they probably
traded for an outfielder yesterday.
Yeah, traded for an outfielder yesterday. An hour
before that news came out.
Again, I don't know, man. Here's the way I look at it. And of course, I saw Dodger fans taking some weird victory lap about Will Smith yesterday, and that's fine. I mean, I think had he popped last year, he would have popped. He didn't. Whatever he did, I'm not saying he didn't do it in the preseason. I'm just saying he didn't fail a drug test when he was with San Diego Padres. He failed a drug test when he was with the Atlanta Braves. It's the Atlanta Braves problem.
I see what you're saying. You can't call into question every number prior to a positive test from every player who was ever tested positive.
Well, think about and it's funny coming from the Dodgers, right? It's really funny coming from them who have taken more scrap heap guys. And then they've had career years when they got to LA. Not one of those guys do I look at and go, oh, you were clearly juicing. Max Muncy, Chris Taylor. How many guys have they brought in off the scrap heap, cast away? Trace Thompson. Bro, there's a dozen of those guys. I don't think they're juicing in LA. I don't think they're juicing in LA any more than any other team juices. I just think sometimes guys do figure it out a little bit and get on a roll.
Yeah, but let's not be naive. There have been some, I'm sure, athletes who have completely, innocently, and mistakenly used a product that they thought was approved, or for whatever reason, were given something that they were told was 100% fine, and it caused a positive test. But it would be naive to think that the majority, or not to think that the majority of people who have tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs did so because they were doing performance-enhancing drugs.
Correct.
They're still pervasive from everything we've heard. I think you agree with this. They're still fairly pervasive and prevalent in professional sports.
I got a text from somebody in the game yesterday that said, you'd be. I have a friend that's a bodybuilder, and he knows a lot about this stuff. And he's the first guy I reached out to, and he goes, man, the way that protocols are set up, they don't want guys to get popped. He goes, every time I see a guy get popped, it makes me literally question, did they want to get caught? Because that's how really easy it is to get around this stuff in professional sports, not just baseball, in a lot of professional sports. So I don't know, man. The thing and Janine makes a good point in the chat. She says, after watching Tatis go through what he went through, I can't believe Profar decided to do it too. Profar had to be the liaison between Tatis and his mad teammates. Yes, I have the sense that Jurickson Profar, when he blocked us years ago, was mad at us for talking about Tatis and how Tatis kind of let the team down in their hour of need. I really feel that way. He was there through all of it. Now, what I want to talk about, though, and what I talked to this former big leaguer about yesterday was risk reward. Does it suck getting banged for 80 games? Yes. Does he still going to make the majority of that contract? Yes. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. The risk versus reward is amazing. It's amazing.
Put another way. If Jurickson could go back and be given the choice, hey, You will get tested. You will get popped. You will face an 80-game suspension, but you get to keep your 24 home run season and the contract you signed with the Braves. Or you can go back in time, not do it, and be clean, and no one will ever suspect you. But you'll also hit 240 with 7 home runs.
You'll make $1 million.
And you'll make another $1 million with the Padres next year. Which one do you want to take?
He'll take the 80.
I think any again, one of us.
If we're going off the timeline of him juicing in the off season, he had already got his bag.
Yeah, but
I mean and
it's not like,
but everyone's
hey,
everyone will
have a career year.
Everyone will question the numbers from last year.
Of course, they're going to question the numbers. But again, here's what I'm saying.
Will we know for sure? No, we will never know for sure unless he wants to tell us, completely everything that happened. But maybe he was clean last year. Maybe he wasn't.
Correct.
We don't know, and we will question it now because, well, those numbers were pretty big and nominally for someone who was over 30 years old and had never done it in his career.
I won't question it. You know why I won't question it? Because he didn't test positive, right? Like he didn't. If he tested positive, okay.
You don't see a scenario where the previous offseason, knowing he had just come off a bad year, hey, I need to do something to get ready for this next season, went through his cycle, but, didn't test because, as you said, guys know how to get around the testing and made it through. He got through a great season, signed his contract, and goes, hey, but my knees hurt. I want to make a good impression on my team. It worked last year. Just going to go through that simple cycle right at the beginning of the offseason again, and then I'll be done. Get my, HCG, and I won't take it during the year again and do what I did last year. And he timed it wrong, and he got popped. There's certainly evidence that would support that conclusion.
If your evidence is just a good season, then I can't agree with you because guys have had good seasons.
Of course.
The
problem is we will never know and people will suspect now.
Correct. But you said there's evidence. There's no evidence. He didn't because he had 24 home runs. If he,
that's enough for some people.
For some people, but it shouldn't be for you who's logical.
Well, if he hadn't tested positive, I would have certainly never gone there. But because he tested positive in the offseason immediately after his great season, yes, I'm going to at least acknowledge that possibility.
The argument, though, that Paulie made, too, and I always go back to A-Rod, who was a monster in Seattle, signs the big deal with Texas. And according to him, and again, take him at his word or don't, he goes, that's when I started. The pressure of this wasn't a $250 million contract Jurickson signed, but it was a lot more money than he's made. Hey, man, I'm going to a contender, a team that's really, they need me and they want me and they're going to pay me. I got to make sure my body's right. The fact of like, hey, man, you got your bag. Why would you do it then? That's kind of exactly why, in my mind, he did it, is to like, hey, I want to make sure I come out swinging and my body's right.
At face value, it makes more sense to me, at least, to if anybody's going to juice, it's going to be going into a contract year, not right after you sign and get your bag.
But the thing is, though, would you want to risk it going into a contract year knowing if I get popped now, I probably get nothing next year, right? Then I'm really damaged goods. Like, it does make sense in my mind of, I just signed this big deal. The pressure's on. Like when we got a raise here, it didn't make me go, time to cruise. It made me sick to my stomach. Like I was like, oh God, we got to perform now.
And honestly, maybe he didn't do anything wrong. Maybe Tatis really did get tainted ringworm cream. You know what? It doesn't. You know what? It doesn't.
Sweet kid.
It doesn't. It doesn't change my opinion really that much of either guy. I love Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yep.
He's back on the field.
Yep.
He's doing what he does. He energizes the team. Jurickson will come back after 80 games. I would hope he will still find a way to become a fan favorite in Atlanta like he was here. It's going to be It's going to be harder, obviously, for him, but there's no reason he can't. He didn't commit a crime. It wasn't a crime.
He's not going to jail.
He skirted some rules, as all athletes do in all sports. Got caught. He's now facing the punishment for getting caught. It's his responsibility to follow rules, and when you don't, you face the consequences. Yeah. Sometimes the consequences are, hey, you know what? You swung at a pitch and missed. You're out. This time the consequences are an 80-game suspension. Once you deal with that, I'm willing to absolutely move on. And again, I still respect Jurickson Profar.
I love him still.
I think he's a phenomenal guy and a player.
Great teammate.
And I'm not saying that we should forever shame Jurickson Profar and cast him as some sort of image of what's wrong with the game of baseball. He's
Made me
not.
sad.
He's not.
It made me sad. Yeah,
it's
it made me sad.
It's a sad story. It's a bummer for him. It's a bummer for the Braves. It's probably we dodged a bullet moment for the San Diego Padres because they did. We were thinking about re-signing him, and that would have been money not well spent at the moment with him unable to play for half a season in the playoffs this year. That would have been tough for the San Diego Padres facing budgetary restrictions.
Yeah.
Maybe wouldn't have been able to sign Pavetta and other players that they probably needed more.
It would have killed us. I mean, today coming in talking about a Jurickson Profar suspension as a member of the San Diego Padres. Is this not a good lesson for Jurickson? Bro, just stay here and play. Every time you try to go somewhere else, something terrible happens. I mean, again, I'm not going to fault the guy for getting his money and everything else. But, yeah, now he's suspended without pay, can't play in the playoffs. The way that they're going right now, I don't know that they make the playoffs. They just lost Ronaldo Lopez yesterday. He's on the IL. I mean, they're banged up. They haven't won a game. They got smoked again last night. It's a rough time for a Braves fan right now. Can I change my pick, by the way? Will you guys let me?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
I'll take the field.
People in the chat asking the questions. Does he still get paid? No, he does not. He will lose half of a season of salary, which will be what? Lose $4 million or so, but he'll still make the other $38 million on the contract that he signed, assuming he doesn't test positive again. I think Alyssa asked, can he still be around the clubhouse in the dugout? No, he cannot. I think there's like a time, like 3 hours before the game or something. He can go to the ballpark early in the day if he needs to get anything.
Tatis was there, like getting work.
Yeah, but then he has to leave, whatever it is, like 3 hours
opened,
before the gates open. You have to be gone, and you can't be there with your team during, after the game at all. You just got to go watch from home or whatever and not be part of your team for those 80 days.
And again, I saw people saying, oh, man, Preller must have known something. No, I just don't think they had the $40 million to pay him. I really don't. But again, it does feel, and I'm with you, that's a human reaction, Ben, to feel like, I'm better them than us. It absolutely is. It's a totally normal reaction, better them than us.
And Luis, I'm not being a real D-hole to Profar. I really don't feel like I'm casting any judgment.
I don't think so either. You're not a judgy guy.
He violated the rules. The rules are clear, facing his suspension, and then we move on after that.
Yep.
All right, let's